Thank you, everyone, for joining this. As someone said, hopefully the last webinar before Christmas, but I'm sure there are many more still to go. But welcome to Drones Applications for African Agriculture, organized by the African Farmers Stories, which is an initiative of Support for Africa SMEs. My name is Bram, and I'm the co-founder of both of those initiatives. And it's a pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this webinar. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. Please mute your mics when you're not speaking. So everyone should mute their mics. There is a Q&A button here, and if you've got, as speakers will be speaking, please write your questions, and the moderators will be able to assemble those questions and put them to the speakers. And also, given that we've already got about 117 people that are currently have joined the webinar, it'd be brilliant to know where is it that you're joining from. So just your name, your organization, whatever else you want to tell us, and which country you are joining from. Because this webinar, I notice on social media and through emails, has really attracted, a huge imagination and a huge audience from worldwide. The African Farmers Stories began in May 2020 as a group of volunteers, efforts to keep shining, keeping the spotlight on African farmers, particularly through the COVID time, when, certainly the African SMEs and the African farmers' lives and works and resilience was being forgotten. And what we have done as a campaign is to continue to shine a light on how they have survived and actually thrived also during this pandemic. This is the fourth, I think. We had 3 webinars back to back in November on particularly focus on finance and how we can get different kinds of finance available to African smallholder farmers. Today's focus is really how we leverage technology, and particularly drone technology. I come from, I worked in the film industry 20 plus years, and I've always thought of drones as things that we use in the entertainment industry. And when I was the CEO of the Tony Lumili Foundation, I know that I supported a number of entrepreneurs who were beginning to use drone technology in the African continent or agriculture and for other sectors as well. So it's fantastic that this webinar totally focuses on how we can use drone technology. We're really grateful to the African Farmers Stories has teamed up with Foodlog.nl, Seed to Seed, IFAMA 2020, the JICA People Support Center to help bring this webinar to fruition. There are several reasons why we're organizing this webinar. We really want in 2021 African farmers to use drones and other smart farming technology in delivering sustainable agricultural systems. We hope that this will be start of a conversation and interaction and exchange that will continue. In the current normal, as we all know, everybody has gone digital, and the use of sustainable information and communication technology in agriculture has become is not an option anymore, it's a necessity. And for the following reasons: promotion of agricultural productivity. We do fundamentally believe, and I've seen evidence of that, not just start of it in the African continent, but also in Latin America and India and China, where farmers and agri-entrepreneurs are using drone technology to increase productivity, and also increased food security, improve rural livelihoods. It really is that post-COVID, we do have to think about rural mobility and how do we take a lot of the privileges that we all take for granted living in our urban centers. We take it for granted, and yet we forget that large percentage of the world's population and particularly across the African continent, are rural populations. And we have to think about rural mobility and improving those rural livelihoods. I think the promotion of agriculture as an engine for pro-poor economic growth, that really speaks to rural mobility and about how do we take these so-called innovations and ideas to the people on the land rather than the people from the land coming to us in the urban centers. And finally, to provide agriculture survey services to insurance companies and governments at all levels. One of the biggest pushbacks we always get, smallholder farmers or any African SMEs, where's the data to prove that what you're saying is right? And we hope that by using technology like drones, we will provide that. I just, certainly the panelists and Victoria and team have assembled an amazing group of speakers. They will talk to you about what are drones and how will drones really impact agriculture. With that, I want to invite the most amazing, extraordinary woman that I have met, who supported the 3 webinars in November that the African Farmer Stories organized. Her Excellency, Dr. Abdulrazaq, who is the First Lady from Kwara State in Nigeria, and she is also the founder of the Ejike People Support Center. More fundamentally for me, having listened to her speak and share her insights, is her passion for young Africa and her passion for agriculture. And no doubt she will share stories of how she, in her own small way, is beginning to grow what she eats in her own backyard. So I'd like to welcome Her Excellency and invite her to open the drones applications for African agriculture. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's lovely to see you again. And yes, I know there've been a flurry of webinars, but I think they're very important. This is a time, with the weather as it is in Africa, I know a lot of people are planting at this point in time. You've just mentioned myself. I've done a little bit of planting in my back garden as we speak, and I was just checking on them earlier today to see what is growing and what is not growing. And I called the guy who's been working with me and I said, am I supposed to be seeing anything yet? He said, oh, Excellency, just give it a little bit more time and you'll start to see all your roots growing. So I'm very, very happy to be here and to leverage on all what we've done earlier this year to also now add on top of all that, avenues for technology. I would like to say it's a great pleasure for me to be part of this drones application for Africa agriculture webinar. Thank you to the organizers, and I must say a big thank you to Africa Farmers Stories. I believe this time around they have also worked with LDE Center for Sustainability. Is it TU Delft or is it Tough Delft University? And my own Ejike People Support Center, which is the initiative that I founded to help people in Kwara State and beyond. And, this is fantastic. And I have a lot of people, a lot of young farmers who have signed on for the activities and the training that will commence, after this session. And I'm very happy and I would love to hear back from them on what they've learned. I'd like to thank you all for choosing to share the global trend in agricultural mechanization with our farmers and stakeholders in the agricultural value chain. The applications of drones are expanding with each passing minute, and agriculture is no exception. This technology of unmanned aircrafts can be used for collecting valuable information in the agriculture sector to avoid damage and to enhance yield. The factor that makes drones the best option for this purpose is the cost effectiveness of these unmanned devices, and it's because of this that I'm particularly interested. The cheaper cost as compared to airplanes and helicopters makes unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, the optimum choice for carrying out valuable research, which can help in the enhancement of production and yield. You will agree with me that smallholder farmers need to become more productive and profitable on a sustainable basis, hence the need to acquaint our farmers with the opportunities this technological trend presents. The employment of drone technology can contribute immensely towards these goals by bringing this tool of digital agriculture to agribusiness enterprises, including large and medium-scale holdings and associations of small-scale farmers growing the same crop in contiguous areas. It may interest you to know that my office and the Ajike People Support Center are working with women and the youth farmer groups, some of which are participating in this webinar, to ensure that we open them up to opportunities to enhance their productivity. Drones are fast becoming that defining piece of technology which enables farmers to make better decisions regarding the management of their farms. Using drones for crop surveillance can drastically increase farm crop yields while minimizing the cost of walking the fields. Without an iota of doubt, using a data-driven approach, the farmers can improve the overall yield quantity of agricultural produce while significantly saving on fertilizers, pesticides, and other inputs. It has been predicted that the agriculture sector will be responsible for nearly 80% of the commercial market for drones. I mean, this is huge. This is because drones can be that defining piece of technology which enables farmers to make better decisions regarding the management of their farms. It is in this regard that I commend the propriety of this webinar, as it will avail Nigerian and indeed Kwara State agribusiness owners the opportunity to tap into this trend in the agricultural sector to maximize their productivity. As I said, we've started planting a few things in the last few weeks with the last rains and hoping to look forward to the yields. So I hope that we'll be able to apply this drone technology very soon to see how we go with this particular crop that we're looking at. We're happy to start this process along these lines and hope that you will be with us until our farmers are fully immersed in the technology and its outputs, so that they benefit from any follow-on technology in this regard. Also, this event will enable experts answer any questions that may come up during the webinar, and that they will be accessible to assist our agribusiness owners in their quest to incorporate the drone technology into their systems. I wish you all a fruitful session and enjoin participants to put to good use information and knowledge garnered at this webinar. Thank you, everybody, and I look forward to a fruitful session this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you for supporting always the agricultural sector, and we're proud to have you as one of our partners. We are glad to know that 20 of your selected members of your state will be joining us in our training come February 2020, and they're building their foundation from this webinar to understand the impact and importance of drones in agriculture. We are very delighted at the African Farmers Store to be partnering with the Ajike People's Foundation. As we move on to the next session, this session will be about the letters to farmers, which is usually done by Mr. Babatunde Olarewaju. I would like to hand over at this moment to Mr. Babatunde Olarewaju to tell us how, as a private extension service company, the drone application will impact the sector in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. Over to you, Mr. Babatunde. Once more, good to hear from you, Your Excellency. And we're always delighted to have you on our call and webinar. God bless you.
Gloria, can I interrupt for just 2 seconds? I just want to say to the participants that we have people from Nigeria, South Africa, Moscow, Netherlands, India, South Africa, Chile, So the globe, the world is gathered in this webinar. Sorry, I just wanted for people to realize.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good evening, maybe good morning from different parts of the world. A letter to my farmers. Dear farmer, it is with great pleasure that I write to you today with regards to the topic of discourse, which has been tagged Drones Application for African Agriculture. Before I proceed, let me do a brief introduction of myself. I am your foremost letter writer, simply called Babatunde. Having written over 168 letters on several subjects and personal experiences while working with smallholder farmers in Africa with Foodlog Agri-Consult Limited, a leading private agri-extension and farm certification support firm in Nigeria. Back to the topic. Over the last decade in Africa, agricultural productivity has remained low as a result of several factors, and two of which were pest infection and weed management. These duels have been an age-long issue, but became more adverse in recent times due to climate change, where post population has increased, their feeding behavior has changed, becoming more voracious, and weed resistance has been more intense. Thus, inefficient pest and weed management during production contribute to about 60% and 77% loss in crop yield respectively, and at the same time reduces crop quality and farmers' revenue. Interestingly, farmers have employed various methods in managing pests and weed over the years, and one of the major methods is the use of synthetic chemicals. This method has its own numerous benefits, yet its adverse effect on the farmer's health is becoming alarming, thus outweighing the gains that have been achieved. Furthermore, it is vital to know that this adverse effect is contributed largely due to inability of smallholder farmers to access and afford the basic personal protective equipment, as majority of them are among the most vulnerable groups, thus exposing them during application to high-risk consequences, and as such could trigger various cancers by disrupting the endocrine system, destroying DNA, damaging tissues, and switching genes on and off. In addition, environmental and occupation exposure to hazardous chemical increases the global burden of diseases, which per year nearly 5 million deaths and 90 million disability adjusted life years. Besides, application of synthetic chemical by farmers or farm workers are most times inefficiently done, as different parts of the farm receive unequal quantities during spraying. This largely due to human error as accuracy is low, thereby leading to wastage of inputs, increased cost of production, and much more effect will be food toxicity, which makes food unsafe to consume for both human and animal. This in essence will have a ripple effect on food insecurity. Therefore, there is an urgent need to find alternative solutions to these challenges to salvage the current situation. Now, what is the way forward? Drones are very key in providing cutting-edge solutions to the aforementioned challenges. This is because they are main area vehicles employed to optimize agriculture operations. They increase production of crops and livestock and ensure effective monitoring of growth. For crop production, drones provide information and deep insight to ensure proper scouting of pests and monitoring in order to identify areas infected by pests or diseases, and also can be incorporated in the development of integrated pest management system for spraying of pesticide to increase production efficiencies. Drones are suitable to be deployed for spraying both pesticide and fertilizer due to its high level of accuracy to ensure that every crop stand receive equal volume of pesticide or fertilizer at every given time. In addition, drones ensure that wastage of inputs is reduced to the barest minimum in the process of application. Also, the use of drone reduces inhalation of hazardous chemical during spraying, as there is a safe distance between the person controlling the drones and the farm where the operation is carried out. The person controlling the drone does not necessarily need to be inside the farm during the activity. And furthermore, drones can be used for crop loss assessment to determine the extent of crop damage on the field by either pest, wind, flood, or animal for reclaim purposes by insurance companies. However, these benefits are desired to be enjoyed by all, and in the same vein, it has its own shortcomings, among which are as follows. Firstly, drones are very expensive for smallholder farmers, and getting a license to fly it is a rigorous process. Secondly, government policy in support of drone usage is still weak or non-existent in so many African countries. Thirdly, there are few drone service providers operating in the agricultural space in Africa, and as such, awareness among farmers remain low. In addition, there is still dealt in accessing irrelevant information on drone usage, such as farmers' willingness to pay for drone services, the exact amount to be paid, the other needs of farmers that can be solved and enhanced by drone, and the impact of drone services on livelihood of farm workers. And finally, there are still few or no technical personnel readily available on the African continent for drone maintenance and repairs. Thus, cost of maintenance and repairs are very high. What is the solution? Inasmuch the prospect outweighs the shortcomings and has a long-lasting positive impact on the food security in Africa, therefore, we have recommended some specific recommendations to reduce the effect of these shortcomings. And these are: there is a need for key stakeholders in the Africa agriculture sector to develop an encompassing policy framework that promote more usage of drone, especially in production activity. Secondly, drone service providers should employ the subscription model for smallholder farmers and should be incorporated as associated service to extension services. Thirdly, there is a need for more advocacy on agricultural drone benefits, and it should be promoted at all levels. In addendum, local capacity development of technical personnel should be implemented, especially for the youth and women, to create more job and employment opportunities. And finally, more research studies should be carried out on farmers' acceptability of drone service, willingness of farmers to pay for drone service, and infrastructural requirement of drones in Africa, amongst others. In conclusion, the future of food in Africa is to guarantee consistent increasing quality and safe food for its ever-increasing population. And this can only be achieved when all factors hindering productivity are effectively addressed and the solutions are optimized with the use of technology such as drones. Drone is here for African agriculture to exploit the possibility of an unending food production and growth. Therefore, the future is here, and here we are to make it happen. Won't you rather move with a cloud of drones? Yours is Babatunde Olarewaju. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Babatunde Olarewaju. It is indeed important for us to understand the underlying impact that drone can bring to agriculture, and also realize that there are limiters in Africa when it comes to policy. Thankfully, we have Our Excellency with us today that is willing and bullish enough to help pioneer the policies that will be favorable for smallholder farmers to have access to drones. Drones are expensive, but they are important ways and solutions that can be provided by drone manufacturers and drone owners so that these smallholder farmers can have access to that. Thank you, Mr. Babatunde, for a great presentation and a revealing presentation for all of us who are small players and how we can harness the services that can be offered by drone to improve agriculture in Africa. We would like to move to the interview session between Mrs. Akpabio and Giadio that will be talking about the usage of drones and how drones are important to the agricultural sector. As we talk about this, the applications of drones, it is important and very, very necessary for us to bear in mind that policies are limited. Your Excellency, Mar, this is where the African Farmer's Story to Delft and Foodlog.ng seek to feed. All of us that are partners need you to step in to pioneer the policy in Africa, in Nigeria, to drive collaboration across Africa for the use of drones in agriculture. Mrs. Akpabio, I would like to hand over to you now to introduce the guest and start this next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Victoria. I don't think my guest is here because he was supposed to be here at 4:55.
First panel.
So I don't think he's here. And from the program, I think there are other speakers that were supposed to be here before him. So he's not here. He will be here at 4:55.
Okay, so we will move to the first panel session. The first panel session, which will be Corn. I would allow Mr. Corn to introduce the first panel session.
We go to the first panel session, which consists of the moderator Maren Scholmans, Samson from Nigeria, Bram Tijmons also from the Netherlands, and Oluwatosin also from Nigeria. And I would like to give the floor first to Samson to introduce himself.
Mr. Samson, are you there? Samson Ogbole, are you there? Please, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Farmer Samson Ogbole, a farmer from Nigeria. I don't know if you got that.
Yes, we got you. Please, can the moderator introduce the rest of the panel session? Panelists, please.
Yes, Samson, we had some trouble hearing what you said. Maybe it helps if you try turning off the video. I don't know if anybody else understood it, but I didn't. So if you'd like to repeat that.
Okay, so I'm Farmer Samson Ogbole, a soilless farmer from Nigeria who believes in the use of modern agricultural technology as a way to ensure that food production is not seasonal, because we understand that hunger is not seasonal.
Thank you, Samson. So as I understood, you're really using and testing technology to fulfill sustainable development goals as they are described by the United Nations, right?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Fantastic. Second one on the panel is a person I met a couple of years ago, and he made me excited right from the beginning about his story about drones. Bram Tijmons, could you please introduce yourself?
Good. Can you hear me? Yes. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. At least noon in the Netherlands. My name is Bram Tijmons. I'm co-founder of PATS Drones in the Netherlands, a technology startup that moves into horticulture. And what we're doing with our startup is developing small and, compared to the big drones, relatively cheap drones that act like bats. You know, the bats that hunt insects at night. We do this in a mechanical way, going after the insects and eliminating the adults to prevent the spreading of caterpillars, larvae, or any other pest insects.
That is awesome. So why the word pats, Bram?
Yeah, that's a that's a fun story, but it's a Dutch word. But maybe you can compare it with the comics from Batman, where you have boom, pow. You know, these comics. The idea originated with annoying mosquitoes in the bedroom, and as you know, in the Netherlands we have annoying mosquitoes. In other countries we have mosquitoes, which can be a matter of life and death. And the idea was to use these small drones, even much smaller than the ones I just shared, to kill those annoying insects and make sure you have a good night of sleep. And in the Netherlands, if you smash a mosquito like this, you say pats, and that's where it comes from.
Can't wait to have a couple of those in my home, Bram. So maybe we can discuss that later on.
Yeah, first the farms.
First the farmers. That's what it's all about today. The next person on the panel, and I hope I pronounce it correctly, is Oluwatosin or Emmanuel Ogunsola from Templus Agro Consults. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Maren. You pronounced it well. Yeah, Oluwatosin Ogunsola is my name. I'm trained as a soil fertility and plant nutrition professional. I'm a farmer, an agronomist with an interest in fruits and vegetables. And my experience cuts across a variety of fruits and vegetables. Also, I'm an advocate for livelihood, nutrition, and climate, with more focus in the nexus of food, energy, and water, which we know is the basis for livelihood for humanity on Earth. So that's the brief about me. Thank you.
And I read that you are also particularly focused on meteorology and weather prediction and those kind of things. Can you tell us something about that briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. We understand the fact that in production processes, climate and variabilities in weather is key factor that can limit production across various environments and landscapes. So we deal more with collection of weather data so that we can simulate it along the production plans to be able to effectively harness these trends for better production along the year. That's basically what that entails.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Before we go to the video of Bram, I would like to briefly introduce myself. My name is not Karen, but it's Maren. I think the K is right next to the M key. And I've been working in horticulture all my life for several companies that supply technology to growers and farmers, like greenhouse controls, biological crop protection, seeds. Working in seed breeding for quite a while. And today I work for Viscon Group, which is a company that is active in 3 fields, all starting with B, plants, poultry, and produce. So we supply technology to handle fresh produce, package it, and do logistics, to produce young plants, to multiply plants, and we're in poultry hatchery automation. So I'm delighted to join this session today. And I would like to ask Bram to start off that beautiful video about the drone.
Introducing extremely small drones that hunt flying insects. Take moths, for example, which you may know from your backyard. As a pest, they are also a major cause of crop losses in greenhouses. Once a moth enters the greenhouse, it finds itself in moth heaven. Here, they can easily reproduce as there are no natural predators, and the use of insecticides is not a preferred solution. Nature solves insect overpopulation by slowly evolving natural predators. Using this as an inspiration and enabled by recent advancements in drone technology, bats developed an artificial predator that intercepts moths mid-air. Just like nature, we built them fast and small. So small that they're safe around humans. And so fast, even cats look surprised. Our system monitors and controls moth populations in greenhouses. Plagues are kept in check while the ecological balance is sustained. The drones never sleep and are always ready for action. They'll stay inside so that we don't impact the natural environment. The autonomous bat system controls pests so that the grower can rest assured. We protect your crops and provide sustainable insect control as a service. Bats, our drones never sleep.
Wow, Bram, that's exciting. For a moment, I was afraid your drone was going to crash into the bumblebee, but you're keeping those alive, I hope. You're on mute, Bram.
Yes, yes. No, we do. We keep the beneficials alive, of course. And yeah, as we're using vision data, the technology, we can really discriminate between the harmful and the beneficials. Right.
Right. So I noticed you place a box inside the greenhouse. I suppose you can place that one outside as well. So you don't put any sophisticated intelligence and expensive equipment onto the drone, right?
No, correct. So we keep the drones very cheap, very lean. So it's like a 30 gram object that we have here. And this is also like, for us, it's a spare part. So we make the box and the charging platform where the drone sits. We make it very robust, so that it has a long lifetime. The drone is more like like a spare part that you could replace when the lifetime is up, because it will be used fiercely, of course, when you're controlling pests.
Fantastic. I've got a question for Samson too, and that is, why do you think that drones draw so much attention to and from farming? I know everybody thinks they're the coolest thing ever, except when they fly into your backyard and start filming you. But what's all the fuss about, Samson? Can you explain that?
Sorry, I didn't get the beginning of the question. You were off for a bit.
Can you repeat? So I repeat it for you?
Yes, please.
So why is it that a drone draws so much attention to the farming and from farming?
Okay, yeah. So right now, using Nigeria as a case study, you would realize that one of the reasons why we have remained where we are is technology has not advanced as much as what we have in other sectors. And drone technology came out as something that was seen as basically for photography. And having farmers be where you guys are playing in, go play in the league of hoes and cutlass as African farmers. And that is on one path. Number two, it is seen as, okay, if at all you need to adopt technology as an African farmer, why jump from hoes and cutlass all the way to drones? Why not go step by step and follow the path that other developed nations had to pass through? And unfortunately, the reality is for us to ensure food security, we cannot go through that process. We need to join the rest of the world where they are right now, adopt what is in play right now to ensure that we are producing at the same rate, since we are multiplying in population at the same rate. So yeah, so the whole fuse is just because you have a whole lot of people that feel this is not it yet, it is not right yet. As Africans, we are very cultural. We believe there has to be the human interaction with the tool for it to make sense. And the drone makes it look like it's not really controlled directly with the human interaction with the plant. So there is a need to have like a whole lot of education first around that part, And there is a need to understand if food production would break the seasonality in production in Africa or in Nigeria, then we need to ensure that we close that gap between technology and production. Don't know if you heard me.
Yes, we did. Thank you very much. That is very interesting. So what you're saying is that human interaction is key, but we first need education in order to provide, let's say, a landing field for technology.
Exactly, because if there is no proper education, there will be no proper adoption. And while doing that, there is a need to also find a way to integrate this technology using locally available materials. What is called ABC, the asset-based community development, because if you have to import the technology, there is a high tendency for the locals to reject it as foreign. But if there is a way to domesticate the production of such technologies, to integrate the locals into the production, the maintenance and all of that, they see it as this is our thing. Then it is easier for them to adopt and then continue to use same.
Wow, that I believe that certainly opens up opportunities for all sorts of people, even the ones that are active in information technology, to consider going into agriculture with these kind of technologies locally. Fantastic. Bram, extending that question, what do you think? Which new innovations could this bring? And can you attract new companies and people towards the industry?
Yes, I think so. So these are two questions, of course, in one. To answer the first one, the nice thing is that now that we have systems installed in greenhouses, and with the camera system monitoring insects, and with the drones eliminating harmful insects, is that we get more and more questions to also further develop the system for other pest insects, as long as they're flying, but also to utilize the camera data as we are on the system today doesn't run, but we are able to make pictures of the crops. And these pictures can be used for, say, example, pest detection, crop growth, forecasting of yields. So that's all a little bit more in the pipeline, but this can all be done with the system as is today, with the technology we've installed today. And I think the cool thing is, to answer the second part of your question, is that we get more and more students from, let's say, the technology background drawn to PATS, our company specifically, which would probably otherwise not have been drawn into horticulture, the industry we're targeting today. And I think that's just great to have a technological company and bright minds connected to horticulture, where you are working with living plants and things. And so it really opens up these connections.
That is really encouraging. Thank you very much, Bram. A question for Oluwatosin. How do you think drones can be implemented in your own activities? You mentioned weather data, microclimate. Tell us about that a little bit.
Thank you, Maren. Yeah, basically I will start like this. Agriculture is a science as much as it's an act of creativity and innovation. So it's that is strategically executed to achieve your target deliverables. So from that standpoint, you would agree with me that drone can really push this to a great extent. Take, for instance, the drone helps in my line of work, where you have to collect agroecological data for you to be able to plan and execute production on the open field. The drone can help you to collect this data. And then you can also have sensors that can also send signals depending on the program you've run on it. And then you can come along and download it from your data logger. Or it can also be sent to you remotely, wherever you are. Then you can then go ahead to analyze this data and then have an informed decision about what you have to do in terms of feeding, in terms of spraying, in terms of irrigation, and the likes. So this is key for development within the agricultural space. So really, drone is what we need. Drone is what it is to be able to advance what we do within the agroecological zones of Africa and in the world beyond.
Thank you. So it's the eye in the sky, so to say.
Exactly.
Question for Samson. So what kind of techniques do you think are interesting in combination with drones, specifically for African agriculture? Samson, are you there?
Please come again. I didn't get. Yes,
okay.
I'm here. Please come again with the question.
I will. So as explained, drone is the eye in the sky. It's precision agriculture. And what kind of other techniques do you think are interesting in combination with drones, for example? Like satellites or sensoring or those kind of things?
Okay, yeah. So first and foremost, let me start from where Oluwatosin started. The fact that agriculture is, like in Nigeria, we have a course in secondary school called agricultural science. And in a bid to bring in other techniques that are going to work with drones, there is a need to first make people understand the science. Meaning, so I always try to explain this to people that we must see plants or animals first as living things. And the drone is just an eye in the sky, but how much the eye can do depends on how much understanding we have about the science first. So if we are going to bring in sensors, we need to understand that what role is this technology going to play that helps me as the owner of the farm have better yield, have better productivity at the end. So by that, I mean, if, for example, we are going to have something for a tomatoes farm as a tomato farmer, there is a need to understand, what do I need technology for? What do I need this technology to help me solve? Because what the drone can help me achieve depends on the issues I am trying to solve. Take, for instance, like what Bram has done at Parts Drones. They have drones that are able to look for ant-feeds and fight after them. That is only possible because there is a data that shows what the issue is. So in trying to develop what other technologies would work with drone, we have to first look inwards and collect data to understand what issues are being faced by farmers that can actually be addressed with the help of a drone. Because if we try to take the technology and just develop it in isolation, we would have a solution that does not meet a need. So there is a need to understand, to discuss with farmers to make them understand. So there is a need to document your process. It is not whether it is positive or negative. So as a farmer first, there are the diseases, there is the substrate, the soilless like I do. There is a, how do we use drones to monitor the health of the substrate? Because if the foundation is destroyed, whatever you plant on it would not come out well. Diseases are a symbol of something wrong with the immune system of the plant. And the first immunity of the plant is embedded in the substrate where they grow. So first thing first that the drone can help to do is, how do we decipher if the is healthy enough to in. That is number one. The plant is a pointer to, or I don't know if that makes any sense. So first, we need things that would help us say, okay, is this soil okay? Is this substrate good? How is the nutrient level fine? What is missing? So we need sensors that can do that. We need sensors that can tell us, okay, there is a drop in temperature. What do we need to do? How can we monitor the pH of the plant or of the substrate, the EC, the TDS, some of these basic parameters?
Then there is also the need
Samson,
to
sound is breaking.
the law of minimum. Oh, so sorry, it's my network. I'm on the farm. Is the sound back?
No, your sound is back, and I certainly understood the highlights of your story. It's very interesting, and I agree completely with you. That is an opportunity. We're looking at the time, so we have to move on with another question, Samson. Thank you. And I would like to ask Oluwatosin, how can the African ecosystem, like education, government, companies, and startups, help implementing these rules? What do we need to do? What do you
think? Thank you, Maren. I will take a cue from what Express. Yeah, because basically, if you don't know what problem you have in a particular area or an environment, then whatever solution you are bringing might not be workable, or you might not be able to adapt it. So really, indigenous solutions are what we need, basically. So in that light, we would educate, or would express advocacy, so that we can inform or build the capacity of farmers as well as enthusiasts to be able to know the nitty-gritty, what it entails, what you need to know, what you have to do before you can execute a successful production, for you to have something meaningful and worthwhile, and be able to be proud of yourself as, okay, I'm a farmer and I'm proud to be one. Then also, government can come in the form of having, how do I put it now? An enabling environment, be a connector between the farm and the market. But then sometimes some of this is missing within the African agribusiness ecosystem. So in that case, government can provide support in terms of government can provide basic amenities, or they can also ensure that farmers' livelihood is protected in whatever way that is feasible. Also, when you want to look at it from the angle of companies and startups, that's different persons bringing out an initiative that can be worked to become an enterprise. In that line, agriculture is very wide. So really, most startups should start thinking about how to have an integrated system where you can collaborate, where what you are bringing out is a subset of what the other person is doing within that same community, so that you can harness all of these startups together and then have something concrete for that particular region, for that particular community. That is when it will work. That is when there will be progress in this space. So talking about drones with regards to all of this, then because drone is quite expensive, then you can have a licensee, or you can have startups that can team up together to get a drone, and then run the services, and then run maintenance, and then run a little bit of other things that has to help the drone to function well in that ecosystem. So basically, that is what this nexus between education, government, and companies can do to actually bring the drones to a limelight in the agribusiness ecosystem of Africa.
Thank you very much. And that's quite a piece of advice there you're giving us. Several calls to action, I would say, to try and get this off the ground, and encouraging people to collaborate, make it indigenous, and apply it to the government to give you the room of movement and resources. Thank you so much. With that, I would like to conclude this session, as our time is up, and we're looking forward to the next one. Thank you very much, panelists.
Thank you very much, Maureen. That was such a great moderation. Thank you to the panelists. The points were very well taken, salient, but they were driven right home. We need proper knowledge transfer. We need indigenous solutions so that we can encourage local production and maintenance for ease of adoption of this technology. Advocacy is very key when it comes to enlightening the farmers, those that are going to use it, and to provide the service widely across Africa. We need the government support, and we're happy we have Our Excellency with us so that we can develop the right policy and not make the same mistakes that other countries have made before. So we can drive the continent towards effective and sustainable use of drones in Africa. A lot of questions have popped up. Where is the service so that smallholder farmers can access this service? That is what some of the key take-homes that we need to go with to develop service that is accessible by all smallholder farmers, to also encourage people to come into the sector to provide the service, to provide production, and to partner with developers like Bram, pack drones, and to provide proper knowledge transfer.